It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
How do I go about getting a job? What are the ways, if there are 9.2 million opportunities out there, how do I make sure that one of those opportunities is the perfect opportunity for me, and how do I insert myself in there?
So we're shifting now to how do you get that job?
Yep.
So and this is something we know a little bit about. We not only hire folks, hiring a lot of folks recently, but we've also had to go get our first few jobs. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, from my own experience, I was not what I call a front row sitter in college. And the fact that I didn't graduate the accounting program at Georgia with the best GPA, I don't know that I was, I've struggled with that my whole life, really. If you look at standard, I have a daughter who's, going into her senior year of high school. We're doing the whole standardized test thing. And I was honest with her. I said, look, I never did great on any of the standardized tests either. There is so much more to being successful than the glossy brochure of what your resume can do. And we want to help you figure out, how do you stand out so that people can say, maybe you are that dyslexic weirdo like I am that needed to have some different things show through than what was just on paper. And that's why the first thing we're going to talk about is, how do you peacock? How do you make yourself stand out?
That's exactly right. Now, look, if you are one of those front row sitters and you are the person who has the fantastic grades and like the 10,000 SAT and the 55 ACT and all these things that are wonderful, that's great. Utilize that. That's a way that you peacock. But if that's not you, you do have to find ways to make yourself stand out, even if those other candidates are those front row sitters, are those folks with those grades. So you have to do some self-assessment to figure out, okay, what skill do I have, or what's unique about me, or what action can I take that is unique?
Yeah, and there's several ways this plays out. This could be while you're going through the interview process, make sure you're trying to find ways that you can do work that others aren't willing to do. And then staying on the peacock type thing, how do you make yourself stand out? And we actually had some experience shares on this, is that like Reby, our producer, she shared that when one of her jobs, they had specifically mentioned that they were looking for a creativity in the application process. So she actually internalized that and said, hey, how can I do this process and actually show them I'm very creative? And she did that by going the extra mile with creating her own website.
She said she coded a website.
Coded her own website to show her resume and all of her skill sets and all those things, to show that she's willing to do work others are not willing to do and make herself stand out. Guys, that is so important, that you have to be willing to stand out.
And this is what her employer said. She said, hey, we had all these candidates come in. You're the only one that did this. You're the only person that built a website. You're the only person that put this skill set forth. So it was no contest. So it wasn't like we were trying to decide between you and someone else. It was you, because none of the other competition did that. If you can find ways to do that. Now for you, maybe it's not coding a website. Maybe that's not the thing you do. But there are some things that no matter who you are, you can do really well.
Well, I mean, my experience share also for myself was coming out of as an accounting major, I had good grades. I don't want you guys to think that Brian was on the verge of getting kicked out of college. I was nothing like that. But I was not, like I said, the front row sitter. But I knew I was not going to be able to just rely on the grades. When I got my interview at the CPA firm that I really wanted to work at, I found out, I tried to search around to find out who their clients were, look at audit reports, look at other things that are published online, and then you find out who their customers are, and go see if you can go interview one of their customers. There's a hardware store in my hometown that I found out used this firm, and I went and interviewed the owner of that firm, and then I made sure I shared that in the interview sequence. After I'd worked there for a few years, the partner shared with me, that's why they hired me. They had never had a candidate that actually was so interested in the job that they went and qualified and interviewed a customer to make sure that I liked the business. They said they're interviewing people, but they never have candidates that are interviewing to make sure that it's a good fit for them too, and that really stood out to them.
I'll share mine. Now, I hesitate to say this because we talked a little bit about this in pre-show prep, Brian. What I would say that I did unique in my interview process is I asked hard questions. Now, I'm nervous that when I say that, people are immediately going to jump to, okay, great, interview process. I'm going to start negotiating salary. We're going to talk about benefits. We're going to go back and forth. That's not what we're talking about. We'll give you some insight on that. But Brian, when I first interviewed with you many, many, many years ago, It went really well. I felt like we hit it off. I felt like we had a great rapport. And then radio silence. Nothing happened. A month passed, and then 2 months passed, and it was getting to the end of the semester. And so I just called you, and I said, hey, Mr. Preston, just want to touch base. I never heard back from you. I felt like we had a great interview, and I felt like we really hit it off. And man, I just got to let you know, I feel like I'm perfect for this job. I feel like I would be the best fit for this. Would you mind telling me what it was? Why did you not select me? And what I did is I put you on the spot where you had to either one, give me some advice about why the other guy or other girl was better, or two, give me some things I need to work on. Either way, I was going to get value from whatever feedback you gave me. It just so turns out the feedback turned out pretty good.
Well, the reality of the situation, the other side of this, guys, without going on too much of a tangent, was I'd already hired the position. It was one of my bigger clients' daughters needed a job. And she was a marketing. She wasn't even in the financial field, but I was like, you know what? I was having trouble getting clients at the time. And what I need is a marketing person as well as an assistant on it. When Bo called and he asked those hard questions, I was like, wow, this is actually who I need. And it is amazing that Bo was able to change my trajectory on who I was hiring and even create a very complicated and hard conversation with that client. That I was no longer hiring her daughter. And by the way, that client is still a client. Well, the daughter is now a client. And when she jokes about that, every time she sees Bo, she goes, "You have my job."
You're sitting at my desk.
Yeah, but it is one of those things where, but I think that was very hard. We have Marcy. Any of you guys who are customers or clients of the firm, you probably deal with Marcy. Marcy cold called us. If you think about, if you look at the opportunity, go stand out, do the things other people aren't willing to do, and it can be good. And that also leads to the fact of it, you need to be authentic in the fact that, are you sending out, thank you notes? Because guys, have a great interview, but then don't follow up with people, and that's not going to go well for you. I know that sounds old school, but it's true.
As an employer, this one's so silly, but something that's like handwritten. I know that email is like the way that we do things these days, but every time we interview somebody and we get a handwritten note, we're like, that's good. That's really, really good. Another thing that you can do is be authentic on your resume. Be who you actually say you are. Don't try to customize your resume for who you think the employer will want you to be. Be authentic about who you actually are and figure out how that can benefit your employer. Make sure that you are doing your research to know what it is the employer is looking for, and you can make sure that you are indeed a good fit for the job that you're applying for.
I think, like on the and I'm putting both of them together, but on the thank you letter, and I don't think you can do too much. Meaning that if you want to send a thank you email, but then also write a handwritten letter, nobody's going to be like, oh, but they already sent me an email. Now I got a letter too. You can't do too much.
Right.
So I'd rather you overdo that, because I'll tell you what, that's going to be perceived as excitement and enthusiasm. That is going to get you over a lot of barriers. Whereas if maybe somebody interviewed a little bit better than you, but they just came off as, they don't really, they're great and talented, but they don't have a lot of passion for this organization. This might put you over the top, and you really ought to consider that as an opportunity.
So send a thank you letter, be authentic, write a personal cover letter. Again, everyone kind of does cover letters. You got to figure out how to make yours personal, make yours unique. This next one is the one I think is so exciting, though.
Well, but the cover letter even could be an email. I'm just telling you, I know we're moving it on, but I just want to, you've got to stand out here. And I know a cover letter sounds old school, but it doesn't have to. Maybe it's email with a unique take that made you show that you did more research on the company. And then here's the last one. This is the one Bo's excited to jump right into. Is really, and this is more of a behavioral hack. And this is a superpower that if you can understand this, use the rule of reciprocation and the fact that, guys, us humans, we have some weird coding in us, in the fact that if somebody does something for you, you feel like there's a social contract that's been created. Think about when you go to an ice cream store. What do? They offer you free samples. Why do they offer you free samples? Because they know as soon as you take that free sample, you're going to feel
a social contract
committed that you have to buy something from them. Guys, the same thing could happen. You could make yourself stand out. I have a few experience shares on this, is that we had a client that was trying to get into a franchise of a national brand, couldn't get anybody to return his call. So he sent a tumbler with the school mascot of the college, that the head person he was trying to reach went to. Guess what? He got a call back because he sent a $25, $30 gift to this thing. I know that sounds ridiculous because obviously if you're getting your first job, sending out $30 gifts to everybody could get very
hard,
expensive, but you could target it. But there's nothing that says when you show up to that interview, you don't show up with a plate of fancy cookies or cookies you made yourself, or you could do something that simple because I can also share. We kept an investment a little longer than we probably should have because they sent us cookies every year. So it was creating a social contract where I was scared to fire them. The same thing happens over and over again. Use that power, guys. That's a behavioral hack that you need to figure out. How do you make yourself stand out and at least stand out in their brain where they remember you?
That's it. Yep.
This could be a social contract could work to your benefit.
Okay, so you want to learn how to peacock. Here's the second thing, and this one I worry. Oh, see, I'm not an old guy, and I'm about to say something that's going to make me sound like such an old guy. I worry about the next generation coming through because sometimes I feel like this gets a little bit lost. But excitement and enthusiasm in the interview process and the conversation process can go a very long way.
Y'all probably have figured out to do this show and other things. I'm a people pleaser. I mean, if you want to know what drives my wanting to be liked and making other people feel good and happy has been great for the show creation, but it's also one of those things where it makes me a little needy to get when we sit across from each other. I kind of want feedback that you're happy to be there. And I am amazed when I'm interviewing candidates sometimes where on paper they look awesome and brilliant and great. But then when you're interviewing, it's like, man, they're kind of annoyed they had to be there. Yep. You know, you just can sense that
or they're going through
off.
The motions.
Yeah, I mean, so if that is you, I'm telling you, enthusiasm or excitement, because you're thinking anybody who's interviewing you is trying to figure out, is this somebody that's going to be part of my day family that I'm going to want to work with? If you come in and seem like you have better things to do, that is going to show through no matter how talented or how good you are. You need to be careful with that.
Now, be careful going the other way, because if it is manufactured and it's fake and it's just sopping wet with like inauthenticity,
yeah,
is that the
inauthentic.
word? If it's inauthentic, people are going to see that. They're going to notice that. So you have to be authentic, but it's okay to be excited about a job. It's okay to be enthusiastic about why you might be a valuable piece of this organization or this company or this person that you're interviewing with. That's a big deal.
And confidence goes with this too. I have an experience share, and Daniel had no idea because I didn't make it in the show notes. You know, when we were interviewing Daniel had actually graduated. He was the quarter we were interviewing for interns was the quarter or semester. I'm old school, but the semester that Daniel was graduating college. And we were interviewing for interns, you know, thinking they're going back to school after they do a summer with us. And when we interviewed Daniel, we said, Daniel, you're graduating and
This is an internship.
This is an internship. I feel nervous about you moving here for, you know, doing a lease on an apartment, all these other things, when this is just a 3-month commitment that we're signing up for. And I'll never forget Daniel's response to us. And you have to know, this is not Daniel's typical personality. He's like, oh, if you guys give me this internship, you'll hire me.
And he
just very matter of fact said, if you give me this internship, you'll hire me. So it'll be okay. I don't mind signing the lease. I'll take that risk. I was just like,
I guess we have to hire
this guy. If he's that confident in this position, well, how could we not do this? So there is something about enthusiasm, confidence, and excitement goes a very long way. And I love the fact that I get to share that now post Daniel being successful with the whole, we made it through the internship. So that's why when y'all hear me call him full-time equivalent Daniel, there's a journey there. There's a story that's actually exciting for us to kind of talk about, because he talked us in, just like you talked me into hiring you, Daniel did kind of the same thing with that interview.
Noticing a theme with Brian Preston. All right, so here's the third one. And this one is so easy but so overlooked. Do your research. Now, for those of you out there watching us, you know about the Money Guy Show. You've obviously found us. What's amazing is when we have financial advisors, financial associates from other parts of the country that come and interview to be a financial associate at our firm, Abound Wealth, we're always amazed when they've never heard of the Money Guy Show. Oh, you guys do a podcast? That's kind of cool. We're like, come on, do your research. Look up the person you're interviewing with. So if you can do a little bit of research about either the person person that you're talking to or the company that you are pursuing, it will set you apart from the crowd and let them know that you are serious and sincere about your desire to be with that organization.
Well, this is a sibling of peacocking, and the fact that, I mean, because really these are all interconnected with each other, is because if you show up at that interview and you've done nothing but just go to the website, guys, you're not setting yourself up to show that you are going to be different than all the other candidates that are out there interviewing for the exact same job. So go out there. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, that is such a turnoff because we do use some recruiting firms and other things when we hire. And I'm just amazed that these people come and they interview. They had no idea we're doing YouTube. Had no idea. Somebody ought to ask, say, hey, you guys are growing at 35 to 40% a year.
What's going on?
What's going on? Just your curiosity of life and opportunity for the future. I say they obviously are doing something. So be curious when you're interviewing and make sure that you have done your research on the employer so that they can see that enthusiasm, see that you took the time and that you're committed to this process as well.
The fourth tip that we would give you is when it comes to your resume or when it comes to your cover letter, when it comes to your written communication, get rid of the jargon. I can't tell you how many times I will be reviewing it. And look, I'm in the financial industry. I've been doing this for a while now. And I'll read somebody's resume and I'll just be like, what? Well, I don't even know what this just said because they tried to put a bunch of it. Just make sure it's clear. Make sure you clearly express who you are, what you do, why you're valuable, and what your experience is.
I think this goes in line of one of the reasons we're successful is that we do have a passion for what we do. So we don't have to, since we know the material, we don't have to try to spin people's head with fancy jargon and complexity to try to get a concept across. And I feel like the same thing happens, and this is a fallacy that I think a lot of young people will do, is especially if you're doing something that's a very specialized career, is you'll think, I need to use the jargon. I need to make myself seem smarter so that I can be at the level of these people I'm trying to impress and get to. The problem is, guys, you haven't had the experience completely of that person that's probably interviewing you. So the reality is they can see through what you're doing, and it will come off much emptier. It will seem off, instead of coming off as a person that is transparent, and there's opportunity to mold this into a great asset for the team. You come off as a faker. Yep. And that is you just need to be careful. You want to come off as the real version of yourself that has the opportunity to grow within this organization. And that leads to number 5, and this is a powerful one. I mean, we saved, I won't say we saved the best for last because peacocking is so powerful and standing out. But this is one that I think is, if you look at how people get jobs, their network really is powerful. And a lot of people will be like, oh no, this is when, I didn't grow up rich. I grew up poor. I don't have the network, because I've done that too. I mean, both of us come from very humble beginnings. The whole reason I switched from finance to accounting is that I knew if I graduated with a finance degree, I was going to end up at a bank or a brokerage firm trying to cold call people. And I was like, I don't know anybody with money that could even potentially be a client, so I'm not going to do that. That's not what we're talking about when I talk about networking. Remember how I told you I got my first job in public accounting? I went to a hardware store in my hometown to interview that customer of the CPA firm I was trying to work with. So you don't have to, your network doesn't necessarily have to be your aunt, your uncle, or a neighbor down the street if you don't run in those circles. But you can expand your network to, who do you go to church with? Who are businesses there in your community? There's a lot of intersections. Why do we even have this game of the separation of Kevin Bacon? Is because you probably very much in yourself are not that far removed from where you're trying to be.
I'm always amazed of people. Now, I don't know. I never had this issue, but I know a lot of our clients, and we have some colleagues and friends who are almost ashamed to use their network. Perhaps your parents were well known in the community, or perhaps they had some business success and were connected. And there's this desire that, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm not going to use mom and dad. I'm not going to use the help. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go my own. And I guess there's something noble about that. And I understand sort of the psyche there. But if you do have tools at your disposal, it seems crazy not to use them. One of my best friends in the whole world, he has a son who is about to be a senior in college, right? And his son is studying accounting at a university down in Georgia, and he's thinking about financial planning. And so my buddy calls me and he's like, hey, what would you think about my son maybe doing an internship with you guys? I was like, hey, well, you can't interview for him. He's got to call me and have him talk to me, and we'll go through it. And so his son called me and we talked. And we gave him an internship, and we've allowed him to come in and kind of see what we do and how we do things here. It was because of that personal connection that he was even able to land this internship. It might not have happened any other way had it not been for that. So use those things to your disposal. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If you're going into a job interview or you're going to interview with a small business, with the business owner or whoever, and you've not at least checked, okay, do we have common friends on Facebook or LinkedIn or, fill in the social media to see what connections you have, you may be missing a huge opportunity to build a bridge that could be very, very powerful through the interview process.
One of the things that I hate that we've gotten to a size that I can't do it as much as we used to, but I love when brand new employees, like one of the first things I did with you, Bo, is we sat down and I walked you through where each client came from. And I call it the spider web of relationships of, hey, this person was referred by this person who was referred by this person. It's just so fun. The same thing happens professionally too. I think about the fact of we got Reby from the producer for the show, for those that might be new, from the fact that one of our associate planners here went to church with her.
Yep.
And then I think about we got Nate because Reby ran in circles within the radio networks that we were able to get Nate. I mean, there's a lot of the networks really do help create opportunities. So kind of it's a culmination of everything we discussed. Don't be scared to stand out. Don't be scared to show your enthusiasm. If you want a job, make sure you tell them that. I mean, Bo and I disagreed on that a little bit because I wanted to put that in the show notes because it makes me so happy when I'm interviewing, when they say, look, I'm excited about this. If you guys offer it to me, this is where I want to be. Because look, I was horrible at dating, because it was one of those things where I had to have a girl practically club me over the head, or literally like my wife's situation where her best friend said, hey, my friend thinks you're cute. You ought to ask her out. Because I am just not the type of person that picks up on all context clues. You don't know if the person you're interviewing might be the exact same way. That just go ahead and let them know that this is the opportunity, because a lot of people will be in their career, their dream job opportunity, but I think they're trying to play it cool, trying to play it coy, when you should probably just go ahead and be transparent. And that leads to, I saw something on social media, and I think I have a unique perspective on this because everybody was comforting this person, is that somebody had been offered a really good job, and then they came back and started trying to negotiate things, and then the company said, no, you know what, we're just kidding. We're going to rescind the offer. We're not going to do that. And then this person was lamenting on social media, and everybody was being very supportive, and telling, well, that place must have just been jerks, horrible, and so forth. But I have a unique perspective as the employer, and the fact that you should always, and this is probably would be the sixth tip that didn't make it on here, know where you are in this negotiation or discussion. If this is your big break, you're at the threshold, you're there, and there's a chance that you could get to do something, there's a chance of a lifetime. Don't screw it up with little stuff, because there are so many things that I look at. What would it take? All I needed was a chance to get my foot in the door. Why do we have that saying? I just need to get my foot in the door. If you're good, it will work itself out. I really do believe that talent can rise and you can do that, but don't let something, because you read on a blog post somewhere that you should always ask for 20% more than what they offer you, or some other number, because there's a chance they just say, you know what, there might be 100 people that want this same job and they were going to go with you, but now they're looking at you going, man, this might be more trouble than we're thinking. But, and that's not saying you can't negotiate. I'm just saying know where you are. If there's 100 candidates trying to get this job and you're one of the 100, you might not have as much power as if you're one in a million yourself. But be realistic when you evaluate who you are in that process, because if it's just something I think people need clarity on that, so they don't screw up their big shot. I feel Eminem playing in the background. I just don't want you to blow it.
Start rapping.
No, I'm not going to do that. But I do want people to be aware of where you are in the situation, so you don't miss your shot.
There are 9.2 million open jobs right now. So this could be a fantastic opportunity for you to make a shift, to change jobs, to adjust inside of your current job, to start that business, to fill a new void. But make sure you approach it well. Make sure you follow these steps to know that you're making the right decision for yourself, the right decision for your family, and you're doing it the right way. Because with 9.2 million open jobs and 40% of Americans quitting their job, it means there's a lot of competition out there. And just like you are a financial mutant in your personal finances, if you are changing jobs, you got to figure out how to be a job mutant, how to be a candidate mutant to insert yourself in a very real and powerful way. We're going to keep loading you up on the personal finance side. If you've not gone to our website yet, go to moneyguide.com/resources. We have tons of free resources available for you out there. We have tax cheat sheets, financial order of operations deliverables, how powerful are your dollars worksheets. If there are things that you want to know, tools you want to use, make sure you go out to our website, moneyguide.com/resources, and check those out.
Guys, thanks so much. We love that we get to bring you this content all the time. I mean, it's funny. We used to do this show, started off bi-weekly. Now it's just, we're coming at you all the time. So I thank you guys for going on this journey with us. Do check out those resources that Bo talked about. Subscribe, turn on the notifications because we're doing live streams. We're dropping in all the time. You won't know about it unless you're getting those notifications. So take care of us that way, and we're going to keep creating content. I'm your host, Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen. Money Guy team out.